TXDocs, a conversation with its creator. That is your topic for today. Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and Podcast, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact-dependent. Hello, guys. Welcome back to lmi.network. My name is Mac Pierre-Louis, lawyer, mediator, arbitrator, working throughout Florida and Texas. And today, back on the podcast where we talk about law and conflict resolution. Today, we're talking to Alan Schoolcraft, and who is a CEO of TXDocs.com, and Dries. And Dries, you have to pronounce your last name for me.
Driessen. Dries Driessen.
Dries Driessen.
That's right.
See, I don't speak Dutch. Dries Driessen, who is the COO of TXDocs.com. And so the reason that I wanted to bring them on the podcast today to talk about their product, the software, the program, and what it does to help lawyers all across Texas is because I'm a user. I'm a fan of TXDocs because I've been using it for over 5 years now. And I will share my screen right before we get into the conversation with these two gentlemen. And just to showcase TXDocs, a product that helps family lawyers, wills and trusts, probate attorneys, criminal attorneys, lawyers just do their work better through document assembly and running their practice. So I wanted to, introduce it to the folks who might not be familiar with TXDocs, with TXDoc. And there are a lot of lawyers who are practicing in Texas who will be watching this, who will get to, hear for the first time from you personally, Alan, and your story and how TXDocs came to be. So with that introduction, let me ask you, Alan Schoolcraft, to introduce yourself. First off, just real quick, and then we'll move on to Dries.
Sure. All right. Well, first, Mac, thank you so much for having us on.
Yes.
I'm really, really happy to get a chance to share our story. I was licensed to practice law in 1978. I was in a small 3-man general practice firm, just doing a little bit of everything. I eventually evolved towards real estate, and this was in the 80s. And so I started thinking, man, there's got to be an easier way to do this, because back then the state bar had some forms, and what you do, you'd buy a packet of forms, put them into your correcting selectric, roll them in, and then start typing, filling in the blanks. And I was thinking there's got to be a better way. And I started thinking about what later became known as document assembly, but there really wasn't anything out there that would do that. So I literally taught myself to program, wrote some software to automate forms for my law practice just to try to make myself more efficient. I realized it might be my ticket out of practicing law, I hate to say it, but I slowly built up a business. Eventually, I started ProDoc in 1990. I expanded. Florida was the first big state that we expanded to outside of Texas, then California. Eventually, I sold the product in 2008. ProDoc was sold to Thomson Reuters / West Publishing. And I retired and lasted 2 years. And came back, created another product called TXDocs, and we're competing with ProDoc. Right now, though, we're only focused in Texas. So that makes us a little different. Texas is a good market, a lot, over 100,000 attorneys. So that'll keep us busy for another year or two.
Yes.
That's how I got here. So what else?
Got it. And as I was telling you before we started recording, I got a chance to meet you back around 2015-ish at one of the Advanced Family Law CLE conferences in San Antonio, where you were just starting the product. And I remember you introducing yourself as somebody who had created ProDoc. And I grew up on ProDoc during law school. That's what we were being trained on. And once I graduated, we were looking for different, alternatives and different products. Of course, I stayed with it, and I eventually went through the whole, process of learning the Westlaw version of it. And then eventually, I made the change, obviously, to TXDocs myself. But before we continue on, Dries Driessen, please tell us about yourself. You are the COO of TXDocs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, thank you, Mac, for that. For me to introduce myself is a lot easier than Alan. A lot less history here. I've only been in Texas for 10 years. I came over in 2015 thanks to Alan. I've been able to move myself and my family over. I met Alan in 2013 when he had just started the company. I was able to make the transition over in 2015, and I've been with TechStocks ever since. So going on 10 years now.
Okay. Are you a
Uh,
lawyer as well?
I am not a lawyer. My background is in software engineering. So I've
Got it.
been, yeah, developing software for a long time, and currently as a COO, I've been doing less and less of that. But I am still very actively involved in the day to day and as well as development of
Yes. Well,
tech
I'll
stocks.
tell you, as somebody who's been watching the software evolve over the
Mm.
years, okay, the interface, everything's been polished over time. Again, I'm a personal user. I use it almost every single day. Yesterday, I was using it, and so I get to I guess give you my review in real time, and that is that people should try it out. It's newer, and so therefore it's not going to be as older as other programs out there, but it gets the job done, and it gets my job done, in a way that's cost effective, which is very important to me. Okay, so but let's get to this question: why did you create tech stocks, Alan?
I created it for the same reason I created. Well, back at the beginning, I got into the business because I am obsessed with efficiency. I mean, all of my life, my older brother used to tell stories about me as a kid, always trying to figure out an easier way to get things done. And that's just part of my being. So that's how I even started thinking with the idea, well, there's got to be a better way. So that's sort of not sort of that's in my DNA. Second, I love creating things. So that's how I got started with the business. When I sold Prodoc, I actually though had no intention of ever coming back. I mean, I was retiring. But it was just that so many of the good, happy customers that I had with ProDoc started talking to me saying they were just so upset
Mhm.
with what had happened after I sold. You know, prices went up, service went down. They just really gave me a hard time over abandoning them in essence. And so I frankly, I like a good challenge, and so that just sort of said, okay, why don't I go back in, do a little competing product, and see if we can help the attorneys, and that's sort of the attitude we have, which is we're strictly focused on Texas, happy subscribers based on treating people the way we would like to be treated, giving them a great product at a very fair price, and we enjoy doing business that way. I love it. I will go to my grave still here at TechStops.
Yes,
So
and I think being in Texas, it keeps you very close to the end user, right? And like to that point, you guys are very open to getting feedback from others.
mhm.
And I have the perfect example. Some maybe what 2 years ago, me myself, I sent an email to your office suggesting a change be made on the child support language that comes out when you do the run the generate one of the forms, and you guys took it into consideration, and I got an email back saying that you guys have implemented it or you guys have updated the language. And so that was I was appreciative, because I don't think that your competitor would even know I exist, but you guys actually listen to the little guy who's out there, busting his butt to help his clients and trying to make the product better. So I commend you for that. I appreciate it. And so with that, Dries, what can you explain the functionality, the tools of the product so that people who might not know too much about TXDocs can kind of get an idea of what it actually can do for them?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the TextDocs as a service um, gives you two big components. On one end, you get a library of thousands of forms across 13 practice areas. On the other hand, you get the other component is the software, and together the core feature of that service is document assembly. So you can take one of those forms and then you can start a Q&A session. So this is where the software asks you questions. You fill in the blanks, and internally our software will run all its logic and all of its capability uses all of its capabilities to then produce a document that is specific to your case. In addition to that, we store that information in the case so that we don't ask you the same question twice. Right, so
Hmm.
that core product, that core piece is document assembly. But that was honestly also the core piece of ProDoc. So when Alan started TextDocs, we figured, or he figured, that we can do better, we can do more. So instead of just doing document assembly, we now have what we call document automation, which not only automates that whole assembly process, but it also helps you with the intake process where you get information from your client, and it also allows you to e-file directly from within TextDocs. So it's basically a three-step process from online intake to document assembly to e-filing, and that is what we call document automation.
Hmm.
So that is the core of TextDocs. Now, we also have TextDocs Plus, which adds practice management to that, which is billing and calendaring and so on. So in a nutshell, that is what we do.
Got it. And so, can you take us a little behind the scenes? Like, I've always been curious who or is there like a team of lawyers behind the scenes who's helping produce all the language that you guys actually use? Because there was controversy over the Texas Family Law Practice Manual and using it. I've always just been curious if you could just shine some light as to how do you guys actually create the language and make sure that it's, and both of you guys can take the question.
Yeah, I'll go first on that. Well, when we were first starting out, of course, the family law practice manual here in Texas, so anyone practice family law knows that, and that's what I had when I with ProDoc.
Yep.
Unfortunately, when I started TextDocs, the bar gave Thomson Reuters an exclusive contract licensing agreement. They froze me out. That was a big blow because it was my intention to automate the bar forms just like I had before. And when they did that, I had a choice of just scrapping the project or figuring out how to get around that. And so I actually hired a really big battery of attorneys, I think about 20.
Wow.
And we spent a couple years or more literally working our way through the bar manual. You know, we can't copy, we got copyright, but we checked all the forms that they have and had our attorneys make complementary forms, making sure we have the same depth of coverage
Yeah,
without copying the language. That was a huge, huge project.
I bet.
Now, that so when you and I met, that's about when we released that first product, and it was a good product. It matched the depth and comprehensiveness of the bar. Now, since then, what's interesting is because we're not tied to the bar forms, we've been able to continue well beyond what the bar forms have. I mean, anyone who would compare the bar forms to our forms would see that ours are much, much more expansive now. And the
Mhm.
reason is we do exactly what you experienced when you wrote to us. We have literally received thousands of suggestions and requests on how we could make the forms even more useful. So there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of special clauses and paragraphs and options that we've added to the forms from practicing attorneys like you that aren't in the bar forms. So it turned into really a blessing in that we have been able to create a much more comprehensive, expansive product, and we're not tied or limited to what all the bar does. Now, that had its own challenge in that everybody was familiar with the bar form, so there was a lot of pushback initially. Well, we've got to use the bar forms. We've got to use the bar forms.
Yeah.
That very rarely comes up anymore. I mean, there
Yeah.
are still every now and then there's a judge or a mediator says, "Well, what's this?" But we now have what is it? Oh, almost 2.3 million forms have been assembled and used in text. Over a million family law forms. It is now we have the credibility. Very rarely are we challenged anymore. Now, that's great. That's great for us. I'm still very disappointed in what it's done to Texas attorneys and our judicial system. The bar's purpose is to create an efficient legal system. I mean, that's stated in their enabling legislation. And the fact that they created a situation where the judges and the attorneys and everybody involved now has to know two separate systems of forms.
Mm.
Um, they're preventing competition for those bar forms because, frankly, we can do it a lot cheaper and a lot better. That was very, very detrimental to the bar, and that's a terrible shame. But the good side again is we've wound up actually creating an even better product, lower price, at much, much better service.
Well, no, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Again, I'm glad that feedback works and that the forms are always being updated because you send out these email blasts, occasionally where it'll be an announcement, and I get them, and I'm always reading them to see what changed. So I'm always happy to see that there's been a
Yeah.
new update. And then I noticed recently the probates were forms were added. I don't do probate law. I've done a few, but not anymore. But yeah, so you're getting more people covered now.
We are,
But
and
yeah,
what we've done real quickly is we've also
yeah,
partnered now with some really really good
yeah.
experienced attorneys.
Longino forms, right?
Judge Longino,
Yeah,
he was a family law judge. He's a board certified, very very well known, and he thinks a lot like I do. He and Joel Norris, who works our probate forms and our wills forms, they both sync with me because they have the same mindset of they love the law, they like doing it correctly, but they also obsess over making it efficient and making it work the way they work. So that's one of the keys we have. We have really good people like that on top of all of the suggestions and requests from the practicing attorneys like you.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so Dries, what would you add to that and the behind the scenes aspect?
Well, first of all, we are working on those forms every single day, right? So, and we do that in conjunction with those editors. One of the things that I think, as I was preparing for this webinar, came up was that Judge Longino has a unique insight because he's been a judge. So it's also about enforceability of our orders.
Yeah,
So ever since he came on board, our orders have been improved because even though we get lots of requests, not everything is,
yeah,
he really looks at it from with that unique mindset of can we enforce this? Does this make sense?
yeah,
So that's been a real improvement to our family law forms. Working on the content and improving our content and being responsive to our subscribers, that is what we do every single day. So I can't stress of our um how much of our attention goes into that.
yes.
We, we,
Well,
we have a little internal program we built called FormZ,
okay,
FORMZ. That's where we track. When you sent your request in, that
hmm,
got put into that software where we tracked it. And every week at our staff meeting, Shauna, who's our content development in charge of that, she gives us a report on how many FormZ requests came in and how
okay,
many got resolved. And
okay,
every week we're looking at that. So, and unfortunately, you know, we have such a reputation of being responsive. We're having a hard time keeping up. You know, but we do our absolute best, and as you pointed out, and when we implement these, we will send a note back to you letting you know it's implemented, and what every 2 or 3 months we release an update with a long list of user
Yep.
suggestions that have been implemented.
Yep. Yep. Awesome. So, what about the future? Okay, not just expanding maybe outside of Texas, but I'm kind of curious if you guys have like a roadmap that people should be looking forward to.
Absolutely. So as far as forms go, the biggest thing this year is legislative updates. It's a legislative year in Texas, so
Yep.
that is a big thing, right? We are on top of those forms, and we make sure that we update our forms by the time they go into effect. So that is a major thing that is coming down the pipeline for this year.
Mhm.
Currently, we're also working on a new chapter in family law for CPS forms.
Okay.
So these are suits that involve the Department of Child and Protective Services.
Yep.
So that's definitely something that's coming down the pipeline very, very soon. We just released Norris's Modern Wills. So this is another collaboration with Joel Norris. So we're still building or creating to or continuing to create
Hmm.
and build out that practice area. We're also working on our family law inventory. So I'm not sure. Well, we haven't talked about that, but in addition to our document assembly process, that Q&A, we have highlighted or extracted, I should say, some of the tools that you use a lot, like family law's inventory of assets and debts in order
Liabilities. Yeah.
to do the division. We have a great Excel export, and thanks to Judge Longino, we are making that better. So we're currently overhauling that and making sure that that whole family law inventory piece is much better. So that's all on the content side. On the
Okay.
application side, we are redoing our base product. So TXDocs itself, as you now know it, will change drastically, I should say,
Okay.
in the upcoming years. So we are shooting for an initial release at the end of this year, where you will see that some of the things have changed and some of the things are still the way you know now.
Yeah.
But as we continue, we will completely rebuild TXDocs to make it a better process. So not only just a look and feel, but our core process, that core assembly process, will drastically change, and you will see the results of your assembly process, the document itself. You will see that much earlier in the process. So that's a major change that we're doing. In addition to that, on the software side, we're also giving you the ability to start assembling Excel templates. So Excel documents. So one thing that comes to mind is the financial information sheet that we have
Yeah.
in family law. Lots of calculations, lots of numbers, and Excel is just a much better product for that than assembling to Word. So we're doing that. We're also looking into document signing using services like
E-sign.
DocuSign,
Yeah, that would be
and
really cool.
yeah, we're going to introduce that into our or integrate that into our editor. So the editor, I haven't talked about that yet, but as
Yes.
part of our document assembly process, um, if you recall, we have the Q&A set phase of that, and then afterwards you can download and open that document. But since we introduced the editor last year, we've kind of added a step. So now you assemble a document, you open it up in our editor, which looks like Word, behaves like Word, but it has all kinds of integration into text. So currently already allows you to, for instance, fix typos, and then have them reapply to all your documents of that same case.
Mm.
We also have some nice tools to show you how to edit the text of the document. So not necessarily the values that you've put in, but the actual base text of the documents. You might want to add a paragraph. You might want to change some wording. So we've got a couple of improvements there, and I'm going to show those in action next week in our editor webinar. That will be on Thursday on the 30th at noon. And there's an hour of ethics credit. So anyone who
Okay.
wants to join that, I'd be happy to show you how our editor works. But in that editor, we're going to introduce document signing this year. So that's definitely something that's coming down the pipeline also.
Yeah, which means I need to rush this video out so that people can know about this. So Thursday, what
Thursday
time?
at 12 noon.
Okay, so that will be January the
January the 30th. Yeah.
okay.
And
So Thursday, January 30th,
yes,
12 noon, 1 hour CLE
so one of the silly ethics credit.
ethics. Okay,
Yes. So
awesome.
I'll be demoing exactly how that works and how our editor really makes really completes the document process, and it really works well in conjunction with our format wizard, which is a tool that's also unique to us, and it allows you to set the styling of your document. Right. So. Attorneys are obviously very particular on how they want their documents to look. You know, what kind of line spacing, what kind of margins, what kind of font. We understand that. Also, you know, what kind of footers. All of those things can be set at the start of TXDocs, and you don't have to worry about it. And every document will just look exactly the way you want it. So we
Okay,
will open up in the editor, and from the editor, you will be able to directly e-file the document. So no printing and hand signing and scanning it back into a PDF. None
yep,
of that. We automate it all.
exactly. Yeah,
And that, yeah, you can, if you use it to its fullest capability with digital signatures, et cetera,
mhm,
you can literally have the paperless office.
yeah,
You can you can have your clients complete their intake information online. You download it into TXDocs, assemble the documents. You know it's signed digitally or however you want to set it up. Open it in our editor, check it, edit, save it, and e-file it without ever leaving TXDocs.
yep. That's the future. Because I was thinking about integrations earlier, and like right now I'm using multiple tools to get one thing accomplished. And so being able to, have the word processing job built right in. And then the e-signing I think is key because right now I got to download it to Doc Hub, which is what I'm using, and then upload it back up. And so it's a lot of work, but so thank you so much for that. So we have a few
You
minutes left.
Okay. Real quickly, you can
Yes.
also, have we released it yet, Dries, where you can upload to the client portal after you've assembled it if you want to send the document to your client?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
again, from within TextDocs, you can also share it with your client through our portal.
Yes, and so there's different tiers of this. So let's just talk about, I guess, the offerings. So there's different tiers. You have the um, basic,
Basic. That's right.
standard, and
And plus.
plus.
That's right.
And I've had all three at one time or another.
Okay.
And so, because at one point I was needing lots of different practice areas. Now I only use one because I really focus just on family law these days. And I've played with the mediator component because I know that you have a tool there. I'm not sure what the usage is on that end, but we won't spend too much time on that. But I'm always looking for mediator tools on the web. But I guess let's start wrapping up. What are the product offerings for people so that they know what their options are?
Right. So we have three versions, as you said. Basic is the core of TextDocs, right? So that is the document assembly piece. So that's those thousands of forms, those 13 across 13 practice areas, and it allows you to assemble those documents using our software. It is not what we call document automation. So it does not include online intake and e-filing. That piece is added when you use standard. So standard is $20 more a month, but it adds so many time savers to your work that you really you really need standard to be efficient, right? Because standard helps you from start to finish, from intake all the way down to e-filing. And then the plus version is everything that we have in standard plus practice management, so plus billing and calendaring, and obviously more as you can see there. So those are the three offerings. As Alan said, very reasonably priced. And what I want to point out is that we add to TXDocs every single day, right? So whether it's content or new features, new capabilities in TXDocs, so the value of TXDocs for your practice, gets increased. Well, you won't see it every day because we don't release a new version every day. But last year we released 10 new versions. So 10 times during last year we gave you new versions with new forms, new capabilities, and more value for that same amount.
Awesome. So, Alan, why don't you close us out? And before you do, I just want to, give you a shout out. Congratulations on your recent election, because so you're in Austin now, probably.
I am, Mac. Thanks. In fact, I just barely made it back for this podcast. We finished up last night, and I was able to come back home today.
Okay.
So
Yes.
thank you.
Well, so yeah,
Appreciate
but to
it.
close us out, what is your vision for the future for TechStocks?
We're going to just continue focusing on Texas, on small firms. That's our target market. Small firms in Texas. Continue with the great pricing and service, and just continue evolving this business. My growth plan has always been to increase our revenues by increasing our users through a better product at a good price, as opposed to continually raising prices. We're going to do that. The software, Dries is brilliant at programming and building in and improving the capabilities of TechStocks. Of course, we're working with AI, looking at how
Yeah.
we can use it, etc. That's a given nowadays.
Yeah.
But really, we're also just focused on keeping our core values, continuing having a company where when I go out to the CLEs and meet folks like you, our users, they come up to me and they're happy. I tell my folks, I don't want to go out there and have people chewing on me because we didn't treat them right or something didn't work. And, that's a great motivator.
Yes.
So I get out there, I go to the CLEs. Dries is starting to go to the CLEs. So that's also how we keep that personal contact, to knowing what's going on in Texas in the legal industry.
Yes. Yes. And Dries, anything you had to add?
Yeah, there's one thing that I want to add, and it's a shameless plug for TechStocks, obviously, and that is that we have a free trial. So anyone who's interested can go to our website, sign up for a free trial. It's 14 days. It's free. We don't need a credit card, and you can look at all those forms, those thousands of forms, and you can use all of the software for those 14 days. In addition to that, we also provide free training. So you can call us and schedule an appointment, and someone of our team will help you get started with TechStocks, help you set anything up. That goes to for subscribers as well as for free trials, and it is for anyone in your staff, not just you. So yeah, please take us up on that. In fact, we are so committed to training our new users that we'll give you a 25% discount for the first 3 months if you take us up on that free training offer.
Awesome. All right. So, gentlemen, please make sure that you give me the information that I can put in the show notes so that people can know how to get to all that you discussed today, including the CLE that's happening on next Thursday. And hopefully, some of the things that you're going to be launching, as Dries was explaining, in the next year, or hopefully later this year, we'll be able to have you back on to kind of talk about the progress. That would be great.
That would be great. We'd love to do that.
Yes.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Matt.
No problem. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out the LMI podcast. See it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We're everywhere. Until next time, everybody, take care.
Bye bye.
See you later.